What's going on, everybody? Sonar here, and this is a recap for the first FLW Tour event of the 2019 season here on Sam Rayburn, and my first tour event, period. This is the beginning of my FLW Tour career, and you know, it was a good event. I finished 12th in this event. It wasn't exactly where I wanted to be because I was in the top 10 going into the third day and kind of slipped a little bit. But you know, overall, really strong finish, especially considering that my practice was kind of lackluster. You know, I didn't really you know, catch them all that great. I had one good day and two terrible days, so I really did make lemonade out of this event, and had a really good time. It was really cool to just get the season started off right, and to kind of you know, shake off all those jitters, man. You know, I was a little bit nervous about going into it. You know, you want to do well in your first tour event, and I accomplished that. So I can fish at ease for the rest of the season and just do what I do best. So let's do a breakdown of what happened at this event. You know, if you watch my post-practice recap, you know that Sam Rayburn is extremely high right now. By the end of the event, after the third day, it was up to 10-foot high. So it was that was the biggest variable that we had to deal with. You know, the weather was all right. You know, we didn't have a whole lot of wind for most of the event, and the temperature was okay. But the high water really did affect a lot of things. But it didn't affect it the way that a lot of people thought it would. The fish weren't really in that brush as much. They were actually still out in those traditional pre-spawn areas. You see a lot of guys fishing offshore, and those are the guys that are doing very, very well. And there was also some of those classic Sam Rayburn drains that were doing very well too. So Navionics maps were a huge part of my success and the success of pretty much everybody else out there, I'm sure. And so finding those key areas that are just the traditional Sam Rayburn pre-spawn areas was how people are catching those big bags. So in essence, my tournament was all based upon a really good spot that I had found on my Navionics card during practice. Okay, I was essentially running those classic drain type scenarios. Still had a little bit of sparse grass, but they're really deep. You know, where you would normally be fishing 5 or 4 feet of water, it was 12 to 15 or 16 feet of water because of that high water condition. So essentially, I was still running those same areas, and I was fishing a chatterbait and just kind of yo-yoing it off the bottom, trying to get bites in those drains. And I found one drain during practice that had 3 bites on 3 casts, and so I knew that there was something to it. And I was just hoping that it wasn't a fluke and that it was as loaded as I thought it was. And the first day of the tournament, went in there and just had a blast. I ended up throwing a chatterbait, of course the jackhammer chatterbait right here, and I threw that with the razor shads in the deal color. So I threw this 1/2 ounce jackhammer on 20-pound test, Vicious Pro Elite fluorocarbon, a 7.3 medium heavy Versa Series Fitzgerald rod, and the new Stunner reel. And that was my setup for finding those fish in practice, but also catching them for the majority of the day on day 1, where I caught 18, 12. But there was also something that I slowed down with once they started getting a little bit tougher to bite that first day. And that was with a worm. You know, classic Texas rig, you know, great way to just slow down and capitalize on more bites. So I slowed down with a Z-Man Mag Fatties Texas rig with a 3/16 ounce Fitzgerald tungsten weight and a flippin' bead. I added that flippin' bead on there just for a little bit of clacking action, you know, make a little bit of noise, and also keep that weight off that knot. And then I used a Hayabusa 957 5/0 worm hook. That right there was an awesome hook. I'm really, really in love with that hook for especially just a regular Texas rig like this. And just essentially fished that very slow through the drain and fished it through the grass, and just kind of kept tabs with the position of those fish. And with that rig, I used 14-pound test Vicious Pro Elite fluorocarbon, and I used the new 7.3 medium heavy all-purpose series casting rod from Fitzgerald, and of course the Stunner reel. But those are my two key rods for that first day. The next day, went in there, the drain was starting to get a little bit tougher of a bite, so I primarily fished the mag fatties in there for the majority of the day. I did catch one fish on the chatterbait, but they really weren't wanting that chatterbait anymore because I really leaned on them hard the first day. And so I caught a decent limit in there, caught a 6-pounder, and then after that started looking around, running around, and I started throwing a jerkbait. A jerkbait is a classic pre-spawn bait, especially if you need to cover water. Throwing this jerkbait right here, and I threw it on a 7-foot medium heavy Versa series and 12-pound test Vicious Pro Elite fluorocarbon, of course the stunner, and ended up catching a 6-pounder. Got keyed in on that bite, and then caught another 7-pounder really fast by looking at my Navionics card and kind of running similar areas, which essentially were short banks where the fish had not as much space to go. It was pine trees and sweet gum trees, and that allowed me to run areas and know that I was making it to the fish. If you go to an area that's long tapering, it was really hard to get to those fish because they'd be behind the bushes, and you'd have 150 yards that was inaccessible to you. So that was a big key for day 2. And on day 3, honestly, had a really tough day. Didn't catch any fish in the drain early in the morning. Went head hunting with the jerkbait and a sling blades from Z-Man. Threw that spinnerbait as well, but didn't catch anything. And then I had to come back to the drain midday, caught a limit on the mag fatties, fishing real slow, found where they had repositioned, and made the decision that kind of kept me out of the top 10. And that was to move on, to not keep catching those fish that I was catching almost every single cast and cull up by ounces, but because I thought that I needed to cull up by pounds and make that 15-pound mark. So that's what I did, is I ended up leaving my the drain where I was catching them almost every cast with the mag fatties, because I didn't think that a couple more fish for a half-pound difference would make a big difference. But ultimately it did, because if I had caught even less than a pound, I would have made the final day. But those are the decisions that you make, that you learn from. So I'm really excited to learn from that mistake and move on to the next event. So that essentially is my tournament breakdown. First tournament of the year. Really happy with the finish. You always want to do better, but overall, exceeded my expectations from practice and really performed very well. And my equipment performed extremely well too. I'm running the new Z19 from Nitro. That boat is absolutely awesome. I love fishing out of it. It's got plenty of space. Even though it's a 19-footer, it runs great in rough weather, and the new Mercury 4-stroke Pro XS is an absolute beast and such a clean engine, and it sounds awesome. So overall, I'm really happy with this event. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for all your support. And I need to give a big shout out to not only all of my sponsors, but a new partner as well that this video series is going to be brought to you by, and that is Coffee Coup. They've got coffee from all different regions of the world. You can subscribe to them, get a sample pack, try all those different coffees from the different regions, choose the one you like, buy in bulk, or you can get more sample packs and just mix it up from day to day. They're awesome, and so check them out. But overall, thank you guys for the support. Thanks for keeping up with the live coverage on FLW, and we're going off to the next event in Toho. So I'm gonna see you guys out in the water.